Part 6, Digitizing a Pencil Sketch. We're back with the next video. We're going to try to get this thing completed here. It'll be 3 more videos. One way or another here, we'll get it done in 3 videos. Last time in the video, number 5, I ended by asking what section we're going to do next. And I look at this as 3 sections. And of course we could break it into more if we want, but I look at the 3 parts. I look at the lady's face, look at the lady's hair, and basically her body slash her blouse, let's say, which would include her necklace. So those 3 things in mind, which one do we want to do next? I see 2 possibilities and one definitely not. The 2 possibilities are her face and her blouse, definitely not her hair. And quick explanation why. First of all, her face could pretty much go next without any problem. I'm not going to do that though. I'm going to do the blouse next. Because it really doesn't, her facial features do not connect to anything, so they could go in at any time, and we'll probably end up doing those last. Her hair has to go after the blouse, because as you can see in this area here, her hair comes down over the blouse. And I'm not saying you couldn't do the other one, but in my eyes it just looks like we need to put that hair down first. Since it's a pencil sketch, we probably could get away with doing it another way, but if this was more solid embroidery, it would pretty much be a no-brainer, because we could use that hair to hide some of these connecting stitches. So we're going to go ahead and get started on the blouse, which would be include her necklace and probably these necklines in here. We'll probably put those in too, just so that we end up with just the face here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on her sleeve over here, and I want to talk about something else. We're going to talk about this a little bit here and more when we get to the hair. This line here you can see is really dark, and I mean we could do it any way we want, but I'm going to go ahead and do it dark, and we'll probably maybe do it similar to this. But what we want to talk about is we're not really digitizing the outline of her sleeve. It really wouldn't stand out that much. We're actually digitizing the shadow, and a lot of what we see here and a lot of what we've done so far, especially up in here and under his chin here, those areas are the shadows. And the way this was converted from the picture is those shadows are darker and that they were left. Now when we get into the hair here, we're going to be doing a lot of the same thing. You can see around this side of her face there's a lot of shadow. There's shadow. Her hair isn't thicker here, it's just darker from the original picture, so it's shadowed. But we're going to keep with that as we do this. As you can see, as it gets closer to her face here, it's shadowing. And so we're definitely going to be doing her hair, but we have to kind of think, why do we darken some of these areas? And it is because it's in the shadow. So that, just thought I'd bring that out. The same goes with her chin. This really isn't necessarily the shape. I mean, it is the shape of her chin, but we're not doing it to show the shape of her chin. It's actually the shadow under the chin. So let's just keep that in mind, and we'll get started. Looks like I ended right up here at the corner of his mouth. So we're just going to do a manual stitch down to this dark area here. We're going to work in this sleeve here first. Again, I always go to a nice thick area to start a stitch. So we're going to click down here with that manual stitch. Actually, for the manual stitch, I think I should do here and then down to there. I seem to have better results that way. Once we got that stitch, we're going to make that start with a jump, end with a jump, and apply that. That should make sure that actually trims coming down there. I guess we could end it with a trim, but that's going to be pretty far, so I don't think there'll be any problem, as long as that make enough jump stitches to make your machine trim. So we're going to go here now. We're going to start with the running stitch, and some pretty obvious things here. We're just going to come down here. I'm going to take her sleeve out, and I'm going to go beyond what we see, keeping with our tradition over here of not making this completely squared off. I'm going to go a little bit beyond what we see, and as I come back, I'm just going to put little marks up here which would, I believe, signify like the hem on her top. And we don't really see those. We could see a couple of them, but we don't see them a lot. So we'll go that far with our running stitch, and maybe we can get zoomed in there. You can see they were a little bit there. That didn't work out real well. I'm not sure what I was doing there. Talking too much, I guess. So let's see if we can clean that up a little bit. Looks like we don't quite have enough points. We'll clean that up later. We'll just keep going here though. So we've got we're going to use a running stitch to form that hemline. Then we're going to do this darker line up through here. And I think I want to go back to the technique I used over here, and I'm going to get my running stitch, and we're going to go. We've already got some running stitches over here. We used it as a travel down here, but I'm going to put another row and then back, so we'll have 2 rows there. And probably not being quite careful enough, but I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit anyway. So I just kind of traveled up through there and back just to get some underlay, because I'm going to leave the automatic underlay off. Again, right clicking, because I'm going to change over here to a complex fill, and we'll get that started. We're going to travel up this side first, and I'm going to come out here a little bit, simply because I know my running stitches weren't quite as accurate as I probably should have been. We're going to end there and then work our way back. And again, our hair is going to come down over that. And since this really isn't solid, we kind of have to work around that when we get to the hair. Okay, so let's see. I want to turn off the stitch ends. And as you can see, this complex fill, it's now perfectly horizontal. And we'll go ahead and select that, and clicking on our shape tool here, and then we're going to grab this and we're going to make this would be the direction of it. And we're just going to put this on a little bit of an angle there. I'm going to pick that angle right about like that. As you can see, I just moved that angle line. On a complex fill, it just has one angle line because all the stitches run parallel to each other, so you only have one angle line. It's not like a column stitch that can turn as you go. We used to call the fill stitches like that, we just used to call them parallel fills, because they only go, all the stitches in one fill always go one direction from start to finish. And here you can see the start and our finish up here, so we're good to go there. Let's turn on the 3D so it comes through a little bit better. As you can see, it's really dark, and we want to get that fill and then set the density of that. The default was 0.40, and we're going to head and run that up to 0.8. Our stitch length is 4. That sounds good. So there we've got this hemline, and we've got this up to here. Now I've kind of missed this area here. I probably should have come out there. Since this is a little sketchy where I'm really going to go here, we're just going to cheat, and we ended right up here, and we'll just come down, and we're going to catch this whole line here. And I don't think it's going to hurt anything to go ahead and give this a little bit more definition by continuing where we really didn't have lines. And we'll come down here. Now I'm not going to connect it over to there. We'll leave that a little bit abstract. We don't want to get too much definition in there. Could come back down here if we want to do this. Thicken this up by just putting a few extra rows of stitches over there like that. And to just work our way right back to where we came from. This still has this effect. Without looking at the original picture, I'm not sure why. I'm going to put those in, and I'm going to exaggerate them. Anytime you stitch out like that and then right back to where you were, embroidery pull will come into play. I don't want to say more than normal, but more than we usually think. We step out, right back. This stitch is really going to pull in there, so we're going to exaggerate that. We can do shorter ones, and they may not even hardly show up at all, depending on what size we do here. I'm going to do a couple like that. So we'll go like that, right back up to where we were, and right click. So now we've got this sleeve done here. So that's kind of, let's turn this back off. Looks pretty similar to what the picture did. So I think we're in good shape right there. So from here, I think we need to work our way down here, because all of this connects down to here. And so I'm here, I'm just going to travel up here where her hair would be, and we're going to bring this stitching, or a row of stitches, down to this point. And again, I'm going lower where the actual picture is, because I'm going to kind of complete this necklace that she's wearing, the pendant on the end of it, just so it looks less cut off. So now that I've worked my way down to there, we need to complete all of this area, and then probably work our way back up, depending on what we want this line to look like. It's a little sketchy here. Just from looking at this picture, it kind of looks like she has, maybe there was some lace here. So depending on how much detail you want to get, you could go in there and kind of go crazy in there, forming some sort of lace effect. I don't think we're going to go crazy here. Our video will run forever. Over here we've got a little bit different look than we do here, so maybe we'll work on that first. I'm just going to come around here. We're going to use this as our pattern. This is where our design, or the bottom of it, is going to end. So what I see when we work up through here, and again, this is all interpretation, is we want to go up here just underneath the hair and then work our way back. And I'm going to bring this back up to here. And these little lines that stick out, I'm just going to go ahead and go out, come back. And they're running pretty close to the same angle as our stitches coming down, but they'll just stick out just a little bit. And they don't have to be exactly where they were. Just going to give it a little bit of texture here. That way we don't have just a straight line. And there's a lot of times when you're digitizing something like this, I talked to my wife about this, and she has way more experience doing a pencil sketch than I do, which again, this is definitely not something that I normally digitize, but she has a lot more, and she has a technique that she just calls random, and she just goes in there, and since she's using a cursor on a tablet, or actually a digitizing board, she can just fly through it, and she just randomly puts stitches in areas where, especially like in this hair, she just randomly throws stitches in there, and then she goes in and moves a lot of stitches to kind of get the look she wants. And she can do the same thing down through here. A lot of this can be random. You're just getting the texture that just to roughen it up some, to make it look something like the background picture. So now I see lines across here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put those in, and I'm just going to go, not as many as there were, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue all the way under this pendant. Probably try to miss the opening in that pendant, because I could see where I could probably leave that open. And so we've formed kind of this texture across here. Now I'm not paying very good attention here. I don't want to work myself into a corner, but since it's a pencil sketch, we can probably get away with different things. And you can see some of this, I'm not doing paying a lot of attention here. This kind of stuff really would need to be cleaned up. I'm going to continue over here, and we're going to put another stitch up to here. Again, this is a kind of a pathing problem here. We just have to work our way back to where we came from, but we got to get all this done first. So we've got another natural line up through here, and on this side of the pendant we go up this way. We're going to go head over here to the left first, and this line will kind of end where those lines coming up started, and then I'm just going to work up this here. Again, I'm not using any curves. There would be a place for curves probably in here. just going to slow me down a little bit. So we're just going to go with straight lines and maybe use a few more, especially if you want to run something like this big. And we're going to work our way back down to that pendant. We're not going to worry about that lace yet. I don't want to get too many levels deep here in my pathing. And anybody that knows anything about pathing, it can be challenging to remember where you're at. And so I don't want to get too far into this without having a plan to get myself back out. Now that line up there was just a simple running stitch, and nothing fancy, nothing sticking out, and I want to keep that way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing here. Even though this has got a lot of jagged effect, I think I want those two lines though to be similar. And when I go up this outside, we may roughen that up like this, and that's just my opinion of what I want to do here. Now we've got this necklace, and from looking at it here, I don't know what kind of chain it was, so we're not going to give it any texture. We're going to keep that smooth also. So we're just going to go right up through here and put that necklace in underneath the hair, and then work our way right back down. That extra line there, not sure what it was, probably another shadow or something. Going to ignore it because we want the necklace to look just like a straight line, like it would be if it was just a straight chain or something like that. So we're going to come back up this side. We're going to get this out of the way. If we can find where her hair starts, which would be there, and then just work our way right back down. Probably the next thing we need to do when I get down here is probably work on that pendant. And think about what we want to do with this lace. And I've already made a mistake here. I really should have put that lace on first. It becomes pretty obvious now, and everybody else has probably already seen that. That lace should have went on before the necklace did, because the necklace lays on top. We're going to cheat, and we're going to do it anyway, and probably not going to show that much. Now the pendant here, I think I want to be pretty basic with it. We want to start and stop right up here, and we're just going to, I'm going to get the classic column tool, and we're just going to work our way around that. Again, not using curves here, and you might be surprised how much you don't have to use curves on some small detail. Again, we're not looking, I mean, we don't really know what that looked like, but this is the general shape that we had. We have, you know, a dark outside, a lighter in the middle, and that's pretty much what we got there. The only thing we could possibly do at that point is, if we think that's too dark, we could bump our density up on that a little bit. But I don't think we need to go too high with that. And we're going to go back to our running stitch tool. Now we ended right here. What I'm going to do is just going to go on up here, and we're going to do this side of her, what do we want to call that? That would be the seam right before this lace, I guess. And with this side we did straight, so we're going to do this side straight. And we still haven't done the lace. This is kind of straight, so we can put our stitches a little further apart. Assuming that's her hair. Yes, that is. So that's where we stop, and we work our way back down. This little line here, we might as well do it while we're here. These don't connect in real well, so we'll probably connect those in with a jump stitch. Going to come out here. We'll call that our collarbone. It's a little darker. We're going to just go over it again. And I went just slightly higher. We could go in and tweak that, get the stitches where we want. But I look at a project like this as you're going to digitize it, and you're going to sew it, and you're going to tweak it. Now, that almost holds true for about every project you do, but something like this I look at as it's going to take a lot of tweaking, and it will take even more tweaking if you change the size of it just to get the look you want. So we've got that line here finished, and I'll right click so we can kind of see that. Turn this off and back on. Now our lace should have been done before this necklace. I apologize for that, but I'm going to go in and work on that now. Not exactly sure. There's a lot of interpretation here of what we could do. Going to be kind of a pathing nightmare in itself, and I have kept track of where I'm at. I need to go back down this line back up here before we finish. So it's not like I'm just doing this randomly. I'm at the point right now, if I wanted to leave off the lace, I just exit out this line. I've got this becomes a double line, and I work my way back up with whatever I want to do on this side. So always thinking of the pathing as I go here. We're just going to take off here, and we're going to come around some of these major shapes, and I'm going to get this outside part done up here, work my way back, and do the texture on the way out. If I miss anything, I can always get it on the way back. So we're going to work on this coming out here and just get some texture in here. And like I say, without looking at the original picture, I don't know what this for sure was, but it sure looks like lace of some sort to me. So we're going to do that. And we'll do this last line, and on the way back here I'm just going to put another line in there so we don't have a big blank spot in there. And as you can see, what I did is as I worked my way out here, I tried to do these lines and put all that in. I always try to do that so when I get out here and I say really all I had to do to come back was just follow the outside here back. But at that point I could look at it and say, oh, I've missed something. I can go ahead and catch that on the way back. And so that's kind of the technique I use. I try to get everything I can on the way out, then take a good look at it, and actually try to pick up anything that I missed on the way back. And that technique comes from, I'm going to do this side here as I talk about this. That technique comes from years ago when we digitized. We actually, and this is something that was really neat, and I'm breaking my rule here, but I'm going to do this on the way back. We would actually plot stitches just like we're doing here, or plot our points, and our machine would sew it. So I could go I could go do a letter, let's say, on a design, and then I would just go over and hit the machine and it would sew that letter. And then I could do the next letter and I'd sew that. So the same goes with outlining. I could actually outline something one time around, sew it, see if I missed any detail so that I knew whether I could get it on the way back. Nothing like that exists anymore. We do everything on the screen. Even if we do it on a tablet, it's accumulating on our screen, and then we sew the whole design. That old way, I don't want to tell you it was better, because it was harder, but there was an advantage. You were sewing it, actually physically sewing it on a sewing machine as you went. So now, since I broke my rule and didn't do any detail on the way out, I've got to do it all on the way back. So we got this going into here. And we're going to catch this line in here. And this is definitely just sort of whatever we want it to be. Everybody would see something different. Doesn't really matter at this point. Whatever you want to do. So I'm just going to, this almost looks like a bigger, I don't know if we call it a flower, a bigger design. And so I'm going to come into the middle here, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a few points out. That's just the way I see it. If I looked at the actual picture, I'd probably say, oh, maybe that's different than that, but that's kind of the way I'm seeing it. And we've got some texture in here, and then I almost see another one of those here, and I don't like this, but I don't think it'll really show that much that I'm crossing this necklace line. This all should have been done first, but it's hard to concentrate on talking and digitizing at the same time, so you have to forgive me. And so I've worked my way up to here, and I believe this is the line that I came in on, so even if it isn't, that's where we're going to end. and we've got some texture there. I'll zoom out a little bit here, turn off that background picture. Not too bad. Almost maybe too perfect to detail in here. I'd rather see it a little bit more random. I kind of like this up here. I kind of don't like that there, but we're going to live with it. Now, keeping with our path here, we're going to come back down this line. Those lines through there, I actually like that, kind of the way that worked, and I kind of like the way this looks. So I'm going to try to duplicate that. Even though our picture doesn't show that, that doesn't mean we have to go exactly by the picture. If we keep this texture on this side, we've got a nice smooth running stitch forming that whole line. I just think it will look better. So don't be afraid to change your picture a little bit, because again, this is all interpretation. So we're going to put us some lines out like this as we work our way back up. Pretty steep angle coming out. We're not going out at 90 degrees. That's what I call it, a steep angle. Very similar, so it kind of follows that row of stitching coming up. And we'll get right back up to where this fill ended here. And I'm going to right click so we can see that. And we'll turn off that background picture, and now you can see what I'm saying. This texture here, it looks similar to that. I'd probably tweak a couple of those, and we would do that by just getting our edit tool, our shape tool, I guess it's called. I call it the edit tool. And take a couple of those and make them on a little bit steeper angle. That's the way I kind of like them. Over here, right click, and we'll see what that looks like. See, that just gives it a little, almost like a texture there. As we pull them in tighter and tighter, it becomes more of a texture rather than a line. And again, it's going to depend on a lot on what size we sew that. This in here, I've made a little starfish looking thing in there, and I don't really like that. It's too perfect, I think, so I probably would change that so it doesn't look quite so perfect. But this isn't going to be a masterpiece. Hopefully this is just showing everybody how to pick up a few pointers, and then you can actually do this 100 times better than I could. But hopefully there's something to be learned. Now we've pretty much got everything done here. We don't have this shoulder line done, and since this is going to be in one color, I would probably say that I want to pick that up when I do the hair. I could trace back under here when we come up through here. I kind of missed it. But since it's one color, there's no reason that we can't, when we work our way down here, we could make this just kind of real nice and neat, hook into the hair because it normally would. Then go back to our random craziness of the hair, and it's not going to show up. And I'm not saying her hair is random crazy. It's just random crazy to turn into embroidery. So I hope I'm not insulting her. But okay, anyway, when we go back, we ended here. I do want to pick up these two lines here. I'm going to do probably do chin with hair. Just her face, well, it would be eyebrows or eyes or nose, or her mouth will do actually last because they don't connect to anything. And like I say, I'm going to do chin with her hair. So I'm here, need to do these. So we're going to go ahead and I believe I ended right there. Get the right tool here. I'm just going to put another stitch there, or for the running stitch, I'm not sure where I was. Go to our manual, plot one there, and then over to here. Right click. With that stitch selected, I will do, we're going to end that with a trim and apply that. And I guess we'll start it with a jump stitch. I'm not sure why that's doing that. We'll just delete it. And go back up here, manual stitch, put a point there, put a point down here. That would be our manual stitch. end it with a trim. Apply. It's not there. That's what we want because it's actually trimming down here, so there won't be a stitch. If we turn off the 3D view, we'll see a dotted line there. So I'm not sure what I did before, but it wasn't right. I'm going to go back to the running stitch. Just going to put this line in. That's pretty easy to see. It's just a matter of how thick do we want this line, and it does show up pretty good. So we're going to do 4 lines. Just up and back and up and back. We've got it covered 4 times. I didn't put them all on top of each other just to give it a little bit of thickness, width to it. Sew it. If you don't like it, if it's too perfect, move the stitch points around a little bit to make it look less perfect. Manual stitch over to here. I do that all the time. I think I'm really put it there to there. My manual stitch seems to work better. Now we've got that. End it with a trim. Apply. Could be a better way to do that, but that's the way it works. And it actually, the things I have digitized in the Floriani system and run on my machine actually trim perfectly that way. So I hate to break the tradition because it works. And I know from reading the user forum that some people have trouble with certain things trimming and not trimming, and it is kind of a problem. So when you get a technique that works on your machine, you probably want to stick to it. Just to, again, 4 times here, they're not on top of each other. They're as you can see, they're kind of beside each other, and I think that's going to work real well to give that some width. But back to the trimming, the main thing to remember with the trimming is it's not a matter of there's not very many machines that actually have a trim command. We have a trim command while we're digitizing, but that's translated into jump stitches, and the machine reads jump stitches, and everybody can set their machine to trim at a different number of jump stitches. And so the key is to get enough jump stitches in a row that will trigger your machine to trim. And I try to keep our machines, I think, are set on 3, which is pretty low. But we program for 5 just in case, and so we're going to make sure we got 5 jump stitches in a row, which will make our machines trim. If I would set them on 5, they'd probably still trim, but if we accidentally only got 4 in, we wouldn't trim. So we got dogs barking in the background, if you might be able to hear, but I think we're going to survive. We've got the last part of this video done. We've got that neckline in there, and the next thing we're going to do is work on the hair. Scary, scary, but we will do it next in the next video. I'm going to zoom back out here and turn off that background, and you can kind of see nothing real fancy, but hopefully there was more important in what I said than what I did. That way everybody picked up something. Next video we're going to do hair. Last video we will do face. Next video we might have to break it up into me talking a little bit, then digitizing and coming back, because there's a lot of work in that hair, and we'll probably go into some of that random craziness that my wife talked about by just putting in stitches randomly and then going back and moving them after we sew it. So hopefully everybody learned something in that one, and we're going to try to get at the next one here fairly quickly so we can get this series finished up, and everybody will have something to kind of play with here. So it won't be too long, but we will see you in the next video.